Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently headed off to Brigo. So at this point we just need to set Brigo as our target. There we go, and we can see our closest approach info. Now we just want to warp up over here. So I'm just going to warp to here or so for now. That'll be fine. And I want to do a planned burn at this periapsis, but is this putting this at the right location? I don't think it is. Let's just warp forward for now manually into the sphere of influence. There we go. And now we can, at this periapsis, do a braking burn. So we need our apoapsis to be less than 200 kilometers. So a planned burn here, and we would just drop this guy right on down to be under 200 kilometers, would be all we would need in theory. So like 199 kilometers would do the trick. So we just need to bring this guy right on down to somewhere around here. So that's going to be a burn time of 1.9 minutes, 318 meters per second. How much do we have left here? 2.01 kilometers per second. Okay. Sounds good. Go ahead and execute this burn, and that will be absolutely phenomenal. So let's bring this guy right on down and slow this very, very quickly. So the question is, will we get credit for this, right? We'll definitely get credit for this, which is kind of the more important one, but we're going to have enough time to launch another lander to land here if we have to. I'm not necessarily convinced that we'll have to. I think we'll get credit for both, but we'll find out. So that is absolutely fine for now. We've got about 70 seconds left on this burn. Let's go ahead and warp through this at the maximum possible speed of 2x. I do wish we could go up to like 4x in this game like we can in KSP, but alas, here we are. Okay, so we've now entered orbit, and that gave us 30 tech points. Cool? Sure, seems fine. So at this point, we have 60 meters per second to go, about 15 seconds of burn time left here. Let's take this back to normal speed, and we're just going to shut down these engines shortly. There we go. So now we need to detach the impactor, which is, of course, this deployer here. So I'm going to quick save in case anything goes horribly, horribly wrong with the way that this works, and we're going to activate this part. We did not get credit for detaching the impactor. If we switch to it, we still didn't get credit. This isn't an impactor either. This is a lander. What? Is this trying to have us have a different part? Hang on. I want to check here. Okay, so this is still attached, and we don't want to change our staging here. So that's interesting. We did not get credit for detaching the impactor. I want to test something real quick. I'm going to quick load to our last quick save. So that's this here. And now I'm going to do something weird. What I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this through the staging menu, which means that this is going to activate, and we're going to lose this. We're going to revert this back, but I want to see if it works if we activate it through the staging system. Yes, it does. Okay. So that's bugged then. Gotcha. So we're going to go back to our quick load again. And we're going to have to edit that. This is a very finicky thing. It has to be done via the staging system for it to give credit, which is very strange. This should have worked. So, to that end, I'm going to switch to our avionics here, and we're going to end flight, and we're going to save flight. Then, I'm going to make sure that the mission is on the correct stage. So I will be right back. Okay, so here we are with the game restarted. I just made it so that it bypassed that particular step, and now we need to bring our periapsis down to intercept Brigo. Apparently we have 0 fuel on this, I think because this engine is probably not activated. Yeah, there we go. So that's fine. I'm also going to activate the landing legs, which we apparently have to do one at a time. That seems fine. So we'll go ahead and do that. And now we're going to have to bring our periapsis down to intercept Brigo. And then all we need to do here is touch down safely, which should be happening, right? In theory. Our thrust to weight on this is 6, so that seems good. And of course, our other vehicle is around somewhere, but because we're pushing this direction, it's getting further and further away. So you can see here, it's definitely a little ways away. And we're just burning in a retrograde direction right now. You can see our surface velocity is coming down. And we just need to drop our periapsis here to be intercepting Brigo. So this is absolutely fine for right now. And we're going to have to do the actual landing. So I'm just looking at our thrust to weight and how much our fuel consumption is. It seems pretty decent. Nothing too bad here. So I'd like to get our lateral velocity pretty much eliminated. You can see our vertical velocity is increasing, which is not surprising in the slightest. This isn't updating now. Okay. Well, in that case, I guess we'll probably just do the same thing again. So I will be right back, and we've succeeded this for sure. So we'll be right back with the next step activated, I guess. Hooray for save game editing. Okay, so here we are now, apparently with a black screen. There we go. OBS figured it out eventually. And you can see now we are coasting to approach the surface. So that is absolutely fine. I think the problem here is that the craft that the contract is trying to track is this one. So that's awkward. I'm just going to go through the landing, and then we're just going to finish this contract that way. This one, I think, will automatically finish. We will see. So we can see that we're quite high up at this point. We do need to coast to approach the surface, so I'm going to do that. We're going to bring ourselves down to somewhere around 15 kilometers above the surface, which is about now. And I want to make sure that we're locked to velocity retrograde, and I want to start a bit of a deceleration here. So we're going to do exactly that. We're still about 13 kilometers above ground level here, and this looks like a pretty decent spot to land, to be honest. What's our lateral velocity? 2 meters per second? Okay, I'm not worried about that. So we're down to 60 meters per second now, and I'm going to let this coast for a bit. So 10 kilometers. We're now down to about 8 kilometers, and we accelerated back up a fair amount. We overburned previously. So we're just going to move this down to about 70 meters per second. And I want to check to see, is this still accelerating? Yes. Okay. This is holding on vertical. This is decelerating. Okay. So I want to put us at somewhere around, I think, 33% thrust or so. We're still 5 kilometers up, almost 6 kilometers up right now. But let's just go ahead and drop this on down. We're decelerating a little too quickly here. I'm dropping us down to 30%. And this seems a little bit better. It's still decelerating a little too fast, though. I'm putting us at 25% thrust. This is still decelerating too quickly. 20% thrust. At 20% thrust, we are still decelerating, but it's relatively slow. We're 4 kilometers up right now and moving at about 28 meters per second down. Now 27. Okay. Even this is a little bit too much. I'm cutting the thrust again, and our vertical speed is now increasing. That's okay. This is about where I want to be. So we're 3 kilometers above the surface right about now. And yes, we're not going to get updates on this. We're just going to have to force that to finish because the contract is bugged. It's tracking the wrong craft. That's okay. That apparently happens a lot in this game. So we're currently at about 30 meters per second. I'm moving us up to 20% thrust to begin a gentle deceleration. And we're about 2,500 meters off of the surface here. So all is looking good here. Okay, so 27 meters per second. We should probably increase our deceleration a little bit. I'm taking us up to 25, which is a pretty large deceleration. And there we go. We're now approximately where I want to be. So I'm dropping us back down to 20% thrust. Okay. This is approximately where I want to be, but we're probably going to have to drop thrust again at some point. But I'm very deeply unconcerned about the amount of delta V in this thing. We're 1.5 kilometers up at this time, and I am going to drop thrust again down to 15%. Okay. So I'm going to hold here until we're moving at about 20 meters per second, I think, and then we'll take us back up to 20%. 1.2 kilometers above the surface at this point and falling. So that's 18 meters per second, 1 kilometer above the surface as of now. We're at 19 meters per second and 20. Now I'm bringing us up to 20% and we're going to start deceleration. This is fairly gentle still. We're 750 meters up at this point. Cool. Down to 15 meters per second. 12 meters per second as of now. Actually, it's a little bit rounded. 11 meters per second. And we are currently 300 meters up. I'm bringing us up to 25% thrust, which is high thrust for this application. We're down to 5 meters per second. I put us at 18% thrust. That's interesting. That is a slight deceleration. Okay. 16 is a slight acceleration, very slight deceleration at 17% thrust. Can't even see the engine burning at 17% thrust. There's a shadow down there being all low resolution and stuff. Amazing. And we're about 160 meters off the surface right now, moving at 4 meters per second. We are still decelerating at this time. We got into a better shadow cascade. I like it. So now we're about 90 meters off of the surface, moving at 3 meters per second. Okay. 60 meters off the surface. I'm going to bring us up to 20% thrust. And now I'm bringing us back down to 17% thrust. We're moving at 1 meter per second at this time, and we're probably going to have to decrease this thrust a little bit. We're now accelerating towards the surface. We're 20 meters away. Bring us back up to 17 to decelerate us a little bit. And touchdown. So now we need to hold for 30 seconds for this contract. This contract, as expected, did not update because it is apparently tracking the wrong craft. That was not 30 seconds, but okay. We're going to save this flight. So save and exit. And we're going to need to get the other contract updated because that's tracking the wrong craft. It is bugged. So I'll be right back once again. Okay, in theory, when we resume this, it should be complete. And there it is. I just heard it. Fantastic. So there we go. We have landed the lander, and that did get us the credit of the other mission. That one wasn't bugged. This one was, which specifically required this lander. So that's great. We are then going to destroy this craft. We do not need to keep it around. But this mission isn't over yet. We need to bring the Brigo lander and the Drew on board back home. So at this point, we need to push ourselves back towards Drew, right? So if we were to burn sometime around here, prograde, what does that look like? Okay, noted. So this game is slightly different in when you do this burn compared to KSP. So it would be something along the lines of this. So that would be 323 meters per second to return. That's not a bad orbit there. This is not going to put us in as low of an orbit as I would like. So we're going to move this back. That's now saying 166 kilometers there. Okay. We can drop that down to 72.4 would put us in atmosphere, but we want to guarantee that we're going to be in water, right? So I want to move this up slightly to be 118 is probably fine. And we can return from there. So 358, I'm just checking how much DV we've got left. Yeah, this should be relatively acceptable. So let's go ahead and execute that burn, and we're going to head on back. And off we go. Fantastic. We have delivered our payload. I really don't like the save game editing, but I mean, the only reason it bugged is because we didn't activate it through the staging system, but you can't change your staging system in this game once you've launched, unlike in KSP, and at least as far as I know, you can't. And we had that tied together with this. So we had to activate it manually, and then it just bugged the contract. The other contract was absolutely fine, which that was the one I was worried about it not counting for. So I don't know, that's kind of weird. But generally in this game, I've found the contracts are quite finicky. Hopefully that's something they work on improving, because I like this a lot. There's a lot of good things about this game, but the contracts are very, very finicky. That's for sure. We've had a lot of issues with them. The good news is they're relatively easy to fix with save game editing when you actually achieve it. The unfortunate thing is that makes it easy to cheat as well, which I'm not a big fan of, but I mean, we don't have to cheat, right? We can just choose not to. Okay, so this is our current position here. We're 84% done with this burn. I don't think it's showing us our next stage of orbit here. Interesting. Regardless, we're about done with the burn. We've got about 10 meters per second to go. That seems wonderful. Okay, so now we want to warp out over here to escape the sphere of influence of Brigo. So that's wonderful. We are back here now. Well, I don't think we're quite in the sphere of influence yet. Now we are. Okay, beautiful. So I want to come back over here. 122 kilometers is our periapsis. The question is, if we were to circularize, how much DV will that require? So let's find that out. Okay, so a circularization here is going to end up requiring, and this is not absolutely perfect, but it's going to end up requiring somewhere around 1.28 kilometers per second. That seems viable, actually. We've got 1.73 here. 500 meters per second is plenty to deorbit from here, right? Should be. So let's go ahead and execute this. I think that's fine. Wonderful. This is going to be the majority of our fuel, but we don't need all that much to get back from here. And this also means that we're going to come in at a much safer velocity. So that's fantastic as well. We can see we're over water right now, but I mean, that's not a guarantee that we would be. Yeah, this is not great here. We're probably going to look to come down somewhere over here in this ocean. That said, we need to keep in mind that the ground station that we can recover from, there's a ground station over here that we can recover from, the Drew Space Center. There's the Alley Base, there's the Juno Village, and there's the Bliss ground station over here that we can't recover from at this point. So recovering over here would probably be quite expensive. So we'd like to target the recovery as being out over here instead. So that might mean we want to take a few orbits while we wait for daylight to come in over here where we have our operations. I just noticed this is going to be another 4 minutes on this burn time. Okay, let's go ahead and warp that forward. That's definitely going to be a pretty big deal to get that burn done. And we could always send up a rescue craft if we really, really needed to, but I don't think we need to be honest. We should have about 500 meters per second left over here, which is plenty to deorbit. Okay, so that's 40% on the burn now. We are proceeding reasonably swiftly. We're definitely seeing that apoapsis drop nicely. What is our current apoapsis? Yeah, that definitely needs to come down. Cool. So we've arrived at our planned burn time, and we've got another 500 meters per second to go here, and we can see that we have about 900 meters per second here. Yeah, that's about right. That's about where we expect to be. Just broad strokes there. I like it. 300 meters per second to go here. Yeah, we're going to be a little lower than 500, I think, but it should be plenty to deorbit. And I would like to drop us somewhere around here-ish. There's a shoreline that comes down like this-ish, right? And we'd like to land somewhere up over here. We're not really going to change the inclination. We could overshoot this and come in and land near the drone ship. That's a theoretical possibility, actually. Okay, so we've got 5% fuel remaining, 430 meters per second. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to warp forward quite a lot. We don't really care about time right now. We just want to get this around to daylight. Okay, so we're here right now, but I'm going to want to move us somewhere over here or so. Plan a burn here, and we're going to drop down our periapsis to be somewhere around, I want this relatively high, somewhere around 30 or 40 kilometers. I think 30 will probably do the trick. And then as we come in here, we're going to do a re-entry burn, is the idea. So that's only 47.3 meters per second to deorbit us. We'll go ahead and execute that. That'll be a very short burn in theory. Yeah. So that looks good, and you can see our periapsis is going to be way out here. We're going to commence our burn when we enter or when we enter the atmosphere. So let's go ahead and warp to about here, and we can see that we are heading down, which is expected, and we're actually quite close to entering the atmosphere right now. Okay, let's lock to velocity retrograde. We should definitely retract our solar panels, although we're going to throw them away, but we'll go ahead and retract those. And I want to coast forward a ways here, I feel like. Yeah, I'm just thinking here. We're going to undershoot this. I'm going to burn some here to push our altitude back up a bit, because I don't want to undershoot it too much. Okay, once we're down to 2% fuel remaining, I'm going to stop this burn. We're going up at this time. Okay, let's stop the burn, and let's move this back to velocity retrograde. Hopefully we can actually get there. We might have to burn to angle our way over to it. We need to get to velocity retrograde. Okay, so we burned to angle our way to velocity retrograde. That's fine for now. And we can see that we are coming in over here. I'm actually thinking we might want to commence this burn here and land in this water that's down here. The Juno village is here. The alley base is here. It shouldn't be too bad. So let's burn off any remaining fuel here. And we'll try to beat this, right? And hopefully not land on this land. We might land on the land. That would be really awkward if we did, because I have no idea if we'll survive that. Okay. Now we need to jettison, and that's definitely a little awkward. We'll try to rotate this out like that. There we go. And lock velocity back to retrograde. Cool. So something along the lines of this. We can see our surface velocity is actually decreasing here. And the question is, how much is this going to move, right? We'll see. I would vastly prefer to land in the water, but we'll find out. Let's go to 2x, and I guess we will determine if we are slow enough for a land landing if we end up landing up over here. But yeah, we just brought it too far down was the overall thing. That's fine. I was thinking about angling for 40 kilometers instead of 30, maybe even 50, but didn't end up happening. Should have. Oh well. So we're definitely causing some drag here and slowing down with our aerobrake. And we'll see if we survive this. It'll be interesting. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a land landing. I would have vastly preferred it not be a land landing, but okay. And we know that our chutes are set to open too high, so this is fine. Probably. It's probably fine. We're slowing down a lot, but I would have preferred to be, you know, up over here in the water. But it's definitely going to be land. So lesson learned on that drag coefficient, for sure. And let's just continue to decelerate this down, and hopefully we're going to be going slowly enough to not have the Druid kerplode. But even if he does, it doesn't actually matter here. We don't have a contract to bring them back. This is just something we're doing. Okay, so we're down to about 500 meters per second. I'm not going to put out the drogue chutes until we're below like 10 kilometers above ground level. Maybe even like 8. Okay, so this is 8 kilometers here. We're still decelerating. I'm just going to continue to hold these until like 5-ish kilometers. Well, maybe like 3, actually. We're above ground level here, so that should, in theory, be fine. So that's 4 kilometers up, and 3 kilometers up. Chutes out. So the chutes are expanding, and of course, it's going to take us a while at this speed to drift down 2.5 kilometers. We're moving at 15 meters per second, and I don't know what a realistically good impact, like, speed on the ground is in this game. So I guess we're going to find out. Is 15 kilometers acceptable? That'll be interesting. We do have this heat shield here. We can't jettison the heat shield in this game. Although that would be a useful thing to be able to slow ourselves down more. But it's not a possibility at this time. So let's just bring this right on down. We have 1.3 kilometers to go, and we will find out. We will find out. Looks like we're landing in, like, is that grass or is that trees? I don't know. Definitely some sort of grassland here. I think. I'm like 95% sure that's grass. Yeah. So we're about to find out if 13 meters per second is too fast to, and I guess this is really more like 14 meters per second, is too fast to land on land. It may or may not be. Hard to say. Only reason we're doing it this way, of course, is because the main chute went in this spot, and we needed that spot for the lander. So we'll find out. 13 meters per second. It was enough to disconnect the parachutes. But it's fine. Okay, cool. So that's wonderful. We can then recover this craft, and we do get a bonus of 538k for the recovery. So that's wonderful. And there might be some here. Oh yeah, here's the chutes. So we need to recover these. That's 5k. That's 5k. That's 5k. Another 5k. So this is roughly around, this is 14.6k. I was rounding it. That's roughly around 25k that we got from that as well. So that was really, really profitable, and it gave us some tech points, but we need more tech points for sure. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we will continue to pursue the tech points. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy Magar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Hiro Marutsu, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.